you think you're in a legal seminar, you need to excuse yourself. This is the Angel Pitch room. We're in Angel Pitches, a slam dunk. We're going to have 4 presentations today. Wonderful startup companies, so I hope the lateness of the day has not affected your mood. Everybody's wide awake. We don't need to do any calisthenics or anything. All right, so we're going to switch the order a little bit. If you have your book and you're expecting Sano Chemical first, hold on to that thought. Extrality is going to go first. So welcome, Brian Watkins.
I got 10 minutes, right? All right, my name is Brian Watkins, as Gerald said. I'm the founder and CEO of Extrality. Extrality is a startup that's bringing innovative e-learning products to early childhood education markets. If you'll permit me to give a fairly fundamental point, markets are driven by need. The need to educate our kids is one of the most basic there is. And it's not just that we have a desire to educate our own kids. Society has a desire to educate all children. Now, as one would expect, given the universality of that need, we're dealing with some fairly large and lucrative markets in the educational space. $2 billion market in early childhood reading materials, that's in the U.S. alone. $1 billion market globally for English as a second language e-learning services and materials. $7 billion market for so-called educational toys. These are those annoying things at Walmart that beep and bloop at you as you walk by. Now, one would think, given all this money washing around, that ed tech would be, educational technology would be a hotbed of innovation, and in a lot of areas it is. But when it comes to so-called tactile or kinesthetic teaching methods, that is tools that make use of physical objects, we're still very much old school. I'm very fond of this slide. Some of you guys have seen this before. On the left, we have a little fellow in West Virginia in 1940 learning his songs using paper flashcards. On the right, we have what is supposed to be state-of-the-art teaching material. We actually use this here at MSU to teach teachers, and it's kind of hard to see, but if you look closely, you see that they're still monkeying around with paper flashcards. Now, there's a couple of takeaways from this. On the positive side, we see this remarkable level of continuity across 70 years. That reminds us that tactile teaching works. We know that kids tend to learn more rapidly when they can physically manipulate the things that they're studying. On the downside, again, there hasn't been a lot of innovation. Those flashcards are, in every sense of the word, dead to the child. They're not interactive. They don't provide instant feedback unless you have the human element there. Okay, and they're rotten at conveying abstract concepts, and that's where we come in. Using something called augmented reality, we can take an ordinary paper flashcard and we can print it in such a way to make it machine readable. We can then introduce a computer and a webcam, and that computer can detect the child's manipulation of the cards in real time and reward them with video depictions of the words that they've created. From the child's perspective, the effect is magical. Words are conjured out of thin air. They get instant feedback, and abstract concepts can be made fairly intuitive. Now, what I'm about to show you is an actual screen capture of the interface running. What you're going to see is a young lady presenting a flashcard with the letter T on it to the computer. The computer's going to recognize that as the letter T. It will respond to her. You can't hear this, but it's pronouncing the T sound. Maybe you could hear. She's going to repeat that with the letters EA. The computer again recognizes what's going on. She brings them together. The computer realizes that she's blending a word. It shows her a picture of a guy drinking tea. Kids love it. It's magic to them. Now, what's really cool is that the computer is context sensitive. So when she reverses the ordering of the letters, the computer knows that and knows what she's trying to create. She's trying to blend a different word. Okay, in this case, she's putting the EA before the T, and she's rewarded with a picture of one of our actresses chowing down cupcakes. So just like that, real-time word blending. The next little clip you're going to see shows another student, an English as a second language student, struggling with adjective placement. If you've ever studied a foreign language, you know that sometimes adjectives come before the word, sometimes they come after. Here we've got the adjective red and the noun hat. Separately, they're represented with different graphics. I don't know if you can see, but the guy's hat is white. When it comes together, it turns red. You get the phrase red hat. switch the adjective around that occurs now in what's called the predicative position, and the computer recognizes it and gives them the phrase, "the hat is red," which can be all kinds of confusing to some new English language learners. Again, just like that, very complicated concepts of English grammar explained intuitively. Okay, multi-billion-dollar market, we're going to be the ones to make this technology work. So we're pretty excited about it. As you saw from the clips, we are focusing on reading and ESL markets. We are convinced that this has applicability in the teaching of mathematics. The product is configured as physical cards, but also, very importantly, there's online content, interactive video lessons, interactive activities that guide the child through the learning process. We ourselves are in the process of producing that content right now, and we've come to realize that we're actually pretty good at it. And we're also coming to the realization that this content that we're producing actually has independent value in the various tablet app store ecosystems. So we are going to be supplementing the basic augmented reality product with app releases as we move along. And I'll talk more about that a little bit later. That said, our primary focus is on the core augmented reality product. We realize it's a disruptive technology. It's aimed at some very large and lucrative markets. Now, if I had 20 minutes, I would spend a lot more time on the next part of the presentation. I don't, so I'll summarize it as best as possible. Our go-to-market strategy is, number one, to protect our IP position, which we have done as best as we can. We have non-provisional patent applications filed. We want to be quick to market to establish viability, which we are doing. We want to maintain a low break-even point, which we are doing. We want to seek a rapid sale of the company or the content. In terms of who is already out there in the market, the early childhood reading materials market is dominated in terms of institutional sales by a number of large textbook companies, very familiar names. The home materials market, that is sales directly to consumers, is a bit more fragmented, although there are some big names. English as a second language e-learning is very fragmented, and educational toy space is a mixed bag. You have some very large companies like VTech, Leapfrog, etc. But on the other hand, you have a lot of niche players and specialty products. Now, we're excited about the possibility of working with the eCenter in the coming months to develop a more concrete market segmentation analysis. As things currently stand, we're anticipating our target market is your stereotypical Generation Y soccer mom, plus homeschool market, plus some institutional sales. Yeah, although it's likely to change as we get more market data, current plan is to price the product in impulse buy territory and take advantage of drop shipping to deliver the cards to the consumer. Promotion, again, this is going to change as we get more concrete market data, but as we currently see it, promotion will be phased in nature, beginning with relatively inexpensive online pay-per-click and display advertising. Moving, though, as we move to expand reach and expand sales into other marketing modalities, such as targeted direct mail, which is an interesting proposition when this is your product, and even direct response television. Okay, again, it's likely that we're going to be revising our sales forecast as we start to get some early input back from the markets with our tablet applications. But as things stand now, we have based sales forecast on the actual sales figures of what we view to be a technically inferior competitor. We've assumed that we would outspend them 2-to-1 for marketing, and then we've assumed a percentage of their sales on a per product per quarter basis moving forward. Sales growth is partially a function of gaining a higher percentage of those sales as we spend more for advertising, but a lot of it is a function of simply bringing more products online, which in the educational space isn't such a stretch when you remember that you can have a level 1 textbook, a level 2 textbook, a level 3 textbook, which gives you a lot of opportunities for upselling your customers as well as expanding the market. Corporate strategy moving forward, at least in the near to medium term, it is actually illustrated well by this cash usage forecast. The chart you see up there is a so-called Valley of Death chart, which our friends at the MTA have gotten us hooked on using. It looks intimidating, it really isn't. The yellow line is cash expenditures, including CapEx. Green line is cash revenue excluding financing. So the red line you're looking at is basically a cumulative cash deficit, which is what needs to be met through financing moving forward. Now, when we got started as a business, we initially planned on this looking a lot more like a U-shape, a traditional U-shape. As we have gotten started with production, we've learned two things. Number one, we can produce the material cheaper than we thought we would have to produce it. Number two, we were realizing that some of these lessons have independent value in the ecosystem, so there's a possibility to generate some interim cash flow. That said, once we move into the latter years or intermediate years of our forecast, we are planning on expanding market share. That requires significant marketing expenditures, so we're anticipating a financing event several months out. We feel that we're fortunate though, because we should be in a position to have gotten some market validation and input prior to that upcoming financing event, so things like valuation will be more concrete. Who the heck are we? My background is in the law and in finance. I'm a lifelong computer interface, user interface geek. It's not just me. Our curriculum is the responsibility of Dr. Devin Brenner over at the MSU College of Education. We're also working with a very talented young man by the name of Scott Montgomery. In addition to this core team, we're now working with, I think we're up to over 12 independent actors, writers, visual design artists to produce the material. And I will just say, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, Mississippi is a great place to be doing this sort of content. There are a lot of very talented people here who work for very reasonable rates, so we're very happy about our ability to produce the content. As I said, we're squarely in the production phase. Non-provisional patent applications are filed. We have a working prototype. Our curriculum is complete. We are working with a number of reading institutes and teachers, classroom teachers, to arrange for classroom testing. And we've signed up over 600 people to beta test the platform, so there's quite a good deal of interest out there in the market. Where we're probably the most happy about what we're doing is not so much the technology, and I don't want to be too precious with this, but it's a pitch, and so it's an opportunity for me to brag about the company. It's not so much the technology, although we are proud of that, but it's actually who's going to be using our technology. At the end of the day, our whole team, we can't think of a better place to be spending time and entrepreneurial energy than on teaching the next generation of kids, little people, how to read. We're enthusiastic about it, it's infectious, and that's what is giving us the momentum and the attitude to produce a really awesome product. And I think at the end of the day, that's what's going to guarantee we're going to be successful with it. So I think I'm probably, what, 11 minutes or something?
Question, got time for a question or two. Let's see if you got any.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Early childhood, define that.
Well, that's actually, I know everybody always said, oh, that's a good question. It is actually a good question in this context, because we could say this is for children 4 to 6 years old, but there are actually a lot of applications where this could be used remedially, this could be used for students with learning disabilities. All things being equal, our sweet spot for this product, for this augmented reality product, is in the 5 to 7 year old range. But we do think it's actually going to be used probably for students a little bit older than that as well.
We're going to need to cut off on questions to make our time, but you're here, right? And we go all the way through a social hour. Don't leave without talking to this man. He is doing a really good job. I'm amazed at the progress in the last couple of months. So please talk to Brian.
Thank you.
Welcome Stano Chemical for their presentation. Dr. Frank.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Dr. Frank Lawson from the College of Veterinary Medicine, and I'm here in representation of Sano Chemical, a new startup C-Corp company that includes Dr. Pruitt over here as our Director of Toxicology, Dr. Xian Liu is our Director of Microbiology and Plant Pathology, and I'm a diagnostic microbiologist. This company is being formed by Dr. Jim Smith. Dr. Jim Smith here, who's now at Texas A&M University. We're here to debut and introduce a new antifungal drug. And this drug is called oxidiofungin, which means fungus killer. And this is not just a novel new drug, but very unique in its mechanism of action. There's an unmet need in our marketplace for new antifungal drugs. And currently, there are 4 major classes of these, and each of them have their limitations and their problems. Most of these are associated with toxic reactions and interactions with other drugs. And currently, fluconazole on the market will react very unfavorably with chemotherapeutic medications. And you know, if you go in for chemotherapy, then that's going to suppress the immune system, and then that's going to act unfavorably with fluconazole. So you can't really put these two together and expect to overcome fungal infections. There's been a lot of resistance problems with the current antifungals that are out there, and the current antifungals have a very low spectrum of activity, and most of these antifungals are fungostatic, and they really don't kill the fungi. And most of these all have very toxic problems that are associated with them. The solution to all of these problems is our new drug, oxidiofungin. And this is a very structurally unique compound for the organic chemists that might be out here in the audience. This is a glycolipocyclic peptide that overcomes all of the previous problems outlined in our previous slide. In defining the structure of this new molecule here, we've also defined some new novel amino acids that the world hasn't seen before. The mechanism of action, as we're going to see on oxidiofungin, is just breathtaking in its mechanism. It's going to really crush the market. This is a whole new class of antimicrobial that the world has not seen before. So oxidiofungin has a better spectrum of activity than all the competition that's out there. As a diagnostic microbiologist, I cannot find a fungi that this drug does not work against. And believe me, in my business, veterinary diagnostic microbiology, I see thousands of fungi each year. Right? Some of these produce some of the most devastating infections that the planet has to contend with today. Our scope of activity here is between 0.5 and 2 micrograms per mil. This is unprecedented. We're talking actually here sub-microgram activity. We're in the nanogram range of activity for drug-resistant candidas that are a big problem in chemotherapeutic patients. We've done some post-fungal experiments here, and what those show is that oxidiofungin has a strong interaction with its target. So once it goes into a fungal cell, it is so tightly bound that you can't wash it out of there, and it exerts its effect at unprecedented levels. Dr. Pruitt is our Director of Toxicology. We just got a publication accepted in the International Journal of Toxicology where we are showing no evidence in a mouse model of organ-specific toxicity. We loaded these mice with 20 milligrams per kilogram, an unprecedented level. If you did that with any of our other competition antifungals, those mice would die almost instantly within the same day. We saw no organ-specific toxicity. We have a low generalized toxicity. And even our lower doses here, they're not affecting even our body weight to any significant degree. I was tempted to change this a little bit. Little effect on our white blood cells. What we really saw was a mild stress response. Heck, when you inject a mouse IP, that's enough to stress these mice alone and cause what we call a left shift in the blood values. We can induce a left shift in kitty cats just by clapping our hands. Okay? This is a very mild effect. I mentioned earlier a little bit about the mechanism of action. This is really important here. We are introducing a whole new class of antimicrobial. Currently, we're going to see how the competition works. This new molecule works across all known fungi, okay? All known fungi at very, very low levels. And we've defined a new mechanism of action, and that's what this Tunnel and Ross assay here, this is a reactive oxygen species assay, and really what we're showing here is that the mechanism of action works by inducing fungal apoptosis, or programmed cell death and suicide, through an autophagic mechanism. Okay? And this is why it works against all known fungal classes. I can't find a fungi that this thing does not work against. So its application is not just limited to human and animal medicine, but extends all the way out into agriculture as well. So we have a global market right now at about $10 billion at this time. We project this in 2014 to be almost $12 billion. The North American market currently at $3.9 billion. We expect that to go up towards $5 billion in the future. With our aging population and more cancers out there and the treatment of those, we're going to see a growing antifungal market. Okay? More than 60% of this antifungal market is concerned with deep fungal infections. We've tested this. We have publications in all the top-tier journals showing unprecedented activity of oxidiofungi for these life-threatening infections. We're also showing we had import from Europe, drug-resistant strains of Candida, and that was pretty hard to get those over here in our system, and test this new drug against those drug-resistant Candidas, and it just totally stomped them right into the ground. I just couldn't even believe how well this new drug is working. So we're going to be really focused here on initial development of deep fungal life-threatening infections, okay? But I've also tested this drug against a wide variety of topical infections as well. Right? And so our competition here are the polyene antibiotics. There's only one drug in this class right now. It's amphotericin B, goes by a trade name of Fungicide. The treatment with this drug is almost worse than the disease that it's used to treat. Okay? This is highly hepatotoxic and nephrotoxic. We have to continually monitor liver and kidney functions through treatment with amphotericin B. The azoles, which are really common out there, there's 3 of them. We've only listed tier 2, fluconazole, itraconazole. There's also ketoconazole. These work by the inhibition of ergosterol synthesis, which is a limiting lipid in the fungal cell membrane. Okay? Amphotericin B binds to ergosterol and creates transion channels that disrupts fungal cellular homeostasis. The echinocandins here are the newest class of antifungal drugs, and they're extremely toxic. They're very hard to produce, and boy, you want to talk about expensive, $10,000 a dose treatments at this time. Okay? These echinocandins are all operating against beta-glucan, which is a cell wall constituent in the fungal morphology. These alamines here, I think we've all been familiarized with terbinafine through Digger the Dermatophyte on TV, okay? And so terbinafine is Lamisil, and it's really working against ringworm fungi and superficial infections. That composes about 40% of the market. Right? All of these classes are used to treat systemic deep fungal infections, except for terbinafine. Our oxidiofungin will really stomp the competition here right out of existence. These are going to be things of the past once we introduce our new drug, because what we're looking at here is a drug that doesn't work by any of these mechanisms, but by one that induces, this is what we call the apoptotic key. This is the holy grail of antimicrobial activity. It induces cell suicide and autophagy in these fungi, and it does so at such a low level without toxicity. I really think that we can grab, if not 3/4 of a market share here, maybe the entire thing. So we're trying to tie our research to our commercialization goals here. We're going to do some pre-INAD testing, which is investigational new drug. And we're looking at about 2 years to complete these right now with an estimated cost of around $2 million. Once we've completed our